Oh, something I gotta do real quick. Good Lord, how many things have I got open here? Get that up. Okay. And we are live. Welcome everybody to another edition of Ghostly Stories brought to you by Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio on YouTube Live. I am your host, Roger Belt, and my co-host, and that's an announcement I got to make. Mr. James Clumperins there is going to take over as co-host on Friday nights. Cheryl Carter, who was doing this with me, had an opportunity to do something better, and nobody wants to hold somebody back from bettering themselves. So I'm sorry to see her go, and we will miss her. And we will welcome Mr. James Clumperins here as co-host on Friday nights.
Thank you.
And with all that being said, tonight's story, folks, for our conversation is called Sinister Beginnings, and it was posted by Jessica L. Denver. So we want to give the credits to Jessica for this story. For most of my early, nearly 24 years of life, I have had an interest in the odd and frightening. With that being said, it isn't unusual for me to explain away certain strange occurrences as something related to the paranormal, as I would fancy the thought. Usually these things include just little bits here and there, an object being placed in a location I hadn't left it, little noises as if the kitchen cupboards were opening and shutting. There was nothing so outlandish or extreme that I couldn't explain it away in one form or another. However, upon relocating to Colorado to be with family, I moved into a home with my father. He rents this very quaint, cozy home with a beautiful back patio and spacious in-ground pool that sees plenty of use in the summertime. At first, nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary. He had been living there several years with no complaints and still none to this day. After I moved in, things began to change. My dog, a very large and mindful guard dog, when something seems out of place, began reacting to something invisible to the naked eye in the backyard. His fur would stand on end down the length of his back. Snarls would take over his normal sweet face. He would scratch at the door, whine and bark until you released him into the backyard to defend his home. Slowly things progressed. I began waking up at night, which is not average for me. Each time I woke, I would feel uneasy, but not sure why. My throat would feel as if a hot iron was being shoved down it. I would then drag myself from my bed, descend the stairs to the kitchen, and shuffle my way to soothe my burning throat with cold water. This went on for quite some time with no other experiences attached to it. After a few months, the nightmares came. It started out innocent enough as if I had just watched a scary movie or read a scary story before bed, which created this scary spin on my dreams. I normally do not easily recall dreaming, or even though I know that everyone dreams every night, but I would foggily remember the nightmares. Out of nowhere, and all at once, things went from scary dreams to terrifying real quick. I started not just dreaming things, but waking up in a panic because of them. Each time I would feel as if something was in my bedroom with me, I would find myself looking in the same spot in my room for no reason other than I felt that was where it was coming from, or standing and watching. Feeling a bit irrational for my age, I would turn on some non-threatening Disney movie and drift off again. For a while, it seemed like that was the worst it would get, but then the dreams turned violent. I had family visiting from out of town, and there was a full house. It was early on a Monday morning when I woke myself from my slumber because I wasn't only communicating in my dream, but really saying things out loud. In the dream, there was a possessed person whom I was trying to exorcise along with the help of others. I don't know the possessed or anyone else in the dream from real life. The possessed went from fits of rage to pleading for help and the exorcism to stop, saying that if we loved them, we would listen. I woke up saying, "We don't love you. We love who you are pretending to be." At that point, I laid still and tried to trick, or take my mind away until I could fall back into a slumber. The overwhelming feeling of dread loomed over me and shrouded me like a blanket I was desperately trying to seek cover with. After a few moments, I heard someone retreat to the nearby bathroom. In a single bound, I ran. I ran and didn't look back. I was certain without a doubt that if I did, I would see something I didn't want to see. It was positive that if I didn't move fast enough, whatever be there preying on me would snatch me and hold me there. Fearing going back to the bedroom, but too early to start my day, I slunk down to the basement to lay with a visiting family member. Even with someone there in another area of the home, I was still so shaken from there. Okay, I done lost my place.
Mhm. It's okay.
Started that I kept jumping myself awake, and even the tiniest movement or noise. From there, the dreams just kept coming. I would dream that I was asleep in my room, but the visual of my room showed itself as if it were the mirror image of how the furniture was really set up. While asleep in the dream, I would be woken by a dark, massive figure standing by my bedroom door. Gathering up courage, I would flee from the bedroom and tell my father, who sleeps across the hall, and witness the shadow figure come out of the room and go down the stairs to the main level. I would always wake up for real at that point. My dog, which slept right outside my bedroom door, woke me up late one night. He was whining, wanting to go downstairs. Nothing was keeping him. He had free range of the house. The issue appeared to be that he didn't want to go alone. I went halfway down with him before stopping and telling him to go look. The main floor is set up in a circle. You can walk through the entire level just by going room to room in a circular pattern around the staircase at the center of the house. He did one full lap before returning to the staircase and begging at me from the landing. So I told him to go one way and I go the other. The idea was to meet up in the middle of the kitchen. He never made it all the way. He took off and tore up the stairs. After taking a look around and getting a drink of water, I too made my way back up to bed until something stopped me in my tracks. As soon as I rounded the corner to begin my climb up the stairs, which is located right across from the front door, the doorbell chimed. It chimed for barely one full note before stopping itself. I was never able to recreate that. Upon moving from my dad's house after a year of living there, I still visited often, nearly every weekend. I would sleep on the couch in the formal living room since my bedroom had since been taken over. My dog woke me up, and immediately my gaze fixated on one corner. Up in the ceiling, my cat, and I don't understand this, my cats will chase some unseen thing around the ceiling as well. How's a cat going to chase something around the ceiling? The nightmares have the nightmares have stopped, but I still fully believe that whatever is in my father's house is responsible for influencing my nightmares and manipulating my dreams. I'm just thankful it didn't attach itself to me and follow me to my new home. This is why I picked this story because attachments happen all the time, and people unknowingly bring home something with them from investigations and stuff like that. Uh, where did it come from? What type of entity was it? I don't see where it was. Maybe it was not uh, physically able to manifest and to, frighten somebody in that kind of way. So maybe it was using his dream state to terrify him. You see what I'm saying? Instead of being able to just pop up and show itself and scare the crap out of him.
Well, and this is just my thought, but it seems that entities are somewhat territorial. So when you're in their place, they may bother you. They're not going to necessarily attach themselves and come with you someplace else. Um, at least that's from my knowledge.
Well, it's a when I was a kid, probably about, I want to say 7, maybe. I had a reoccurring dream every night. And what may seem silly to people now, and it actually kind of does to me now, but at that time it was terrifying. Every night I would dream that I was running across a field and I fell into a pit and you just fall and fall and fall and fall and fall like it had no bottom. And below me, I could see what I guess my mind pictured as the devil. And if you've ever seen any of the cartoon pictures, it always shows the devil with a pitchfork and all that. Well, I saw him with his pitchfork, and like, I guess the flames of hell below him. And I would always wake up before I ever got to him. And I've wondered many, many times, what would have actually happened if I would have fell all the way down to where I saw him at? Would it be real? Would I be dead? Would I be in hell, tormented for the rest of my life, or the rest of my afterlife, or
That's interesting. I mean, I've had dreams like I was flying or falling, this sort of thing, and the story is, if you hit bottom, you actually hit the ground, you're gonna die, this sort of thing. Well,
right. So you're gonna die.
I've had dreams like that.
In real life.
I've had dreams like that, and I hit the bottom, but I bounced, and it was like, well, this is kind of cool.
Well, if I hit the bottom now, I'd either splat or bounce, one of the two. But anyway, yeah, I mean, and of course, like you, I used to have the dreams where I could fly, and I'd just, go everywhere. And who knows if I really wasn't doing that, because even now, um, in my sleep, I do believe that I do astral travel. And when I come back to myself, I hit with a hard jerk, and I jerk plumb up out of bed every time.
I think I've had that and just didn't even realize what it was at the time. I've had flying dreams. I mean, where I was just out there flying through these hills and valleys and
Yeah, yeah.
just cruising, and it was just fantastic. Um, I never thought of it at that time as being astral traveling, but could be.
Well, I mean, maybe that's how I perceived it when I was, little. When if I would do it, I would perceive it as I was flying. Just like Superman. But anyway, uh,
What's really interesting about the story, and I've been taking notes while you were telling the story there. Um, as I think you know, lived in North Carolina for about a year and a half with my stepdaughter and grandson. And when I first got there, she told me there's a visitor in this house. Um, you may see him. She says, I see him. He's Native American, Indian descent, and you'll hear him, and you'll hear music, and things move, from the front yard to the backyard, this and that. I said, well, okay, that's cool. And my stepdaughter, is very keenly tuned into paranormal stuff. Um, so I just kind of went along with it. I was like, okay, yeah, fine. Well, sure enough, um, there were nights when I would hear music in the house, and it's kind of like a saxophone playing, this sort of thing. And I'd get up and walk around to the whole house and check on my stepdaughter, my grandson. Nobody had any radios going, nothing going on at all. And I'd go back to bed and I'd start hearing the music again. And then it manifested to where I would start hearing voices. I could hear people talking in the living room. And I'd get up and go out, and there's nobody in the living room, but I was hearing these voices here. And she said, "Oh yeah, I heard them too." We talk in the morning. "Oh yeah, I heard them too." That happens all the time. And we had a pit bull and a big fenced in backyard with a doggy door where the dog could go in and out whenever he wanted to. And there would be times at night when all of a sudden the dog would just start barking like crazy and bolt out that door into the backyard and just start barking like crazy. And I'd get up, to check it out. Well, hey, there's nobody around. Come back inside. Calm down, this and that. And then I'd get up in the morning, and something that was in the front yard, out on the front porch, would be in the backyard, in the fenced-in area where the dog was. Now, there's no way a human is going to get into that fence without the dog tearing him a brand new one. I mean, this is an 80-pound pit bull. But things from the front yard would end up in the backyard. Then we'd put it back in the front yard again, and a couple days later, it'd be in the backyard again. So I do believe those types of things happen. Um, I personally never saw the entity, but my stepdaughter did many times and described him exactly what he looked like, everything else. So who knows?
well, I hope that the person who posted the story is past all of that now. Not having to deal with that. But you got to think about when you're dreaming. If you're in a deep REM sleep and you're dreaming, unless you wake up, and that's what usually happens is at some point you'll wake up for whatever reason, and it saves you from whatever's attacking you in your dream. But what if you didn't wake up, at the right moment to prevent whatever was after you from catching up with you.
This kind of brings us to what I was talking about a little bit Wednesday with hypnagogia, which is when you're at the threshold of either falling asleep or waking up. Your brain is in the REM state, so you're dreaming, and you will see and hear things. And that's just a psychological thing that our brain does. So that could possibly be part of that. But at the same time, I've experienced the other side of it too. So I don't know.
Okay, so let's look at it this way. Even if it was a psychological thing, okay, and you were manifesting this stuff in your head, still, if you did not wake up before whatever you were manifesting in your head actually caught you, would you still die in your dream? And if you did, would you die in reality?
Well, in that case, and that's an interesting thought. Um, I would think, at least from my experiences, um, if you didn't wake, you might solve the problem. You might come to the reality of what's causing it, what's in your brain that's making this happen,
And you may
and
not.
might fix it.
And you may
I,
not. So,
yeah.
you know, and basically, people have heart attacks and die in their sleep from a massive heart attack. What if, whatever it was, and I'm just throwing this out there, it's a what if kind of question. Uh, if you didn't wake up and whatever it was chasing you in your mind's eye, right, caught up with you, you
Well,
know,
fear is real.
yeah, the fear of it, could you have a heart attack out of the fear of it? And it's very possible, I guess. Um, I wonder if that's why some people die of heart attacks in their sleep. That maybe they were in some kind of nightmare and they couldn't escape, and they were terrified, and their heart just seized on them.
That makes sense. You know, what you say, fear is real, and if your brain is manifesting something as you sleep, and your blood pressure goes up, and your heart starts beating, and this and that, yeah, it could cause that.
Exactly. And of course, as a paranormal investigator, I realize that if you go into a investigation situation where there's something, um, claims of something really terrible going on and all this kind of stuff, you cannot go in there carrying any fear or doubt with you.
Fight or flight. That's human nature. And
You know, and
so when things are terrifying, you're going to do one of the two things. You're either going to fight it or you're going to run, unless you're prepared ahead of time.
exactly. And
And then you can be calm with it and just
I,
deal with
I
it.
see a lot of really creepy old houses and stuff posted on Facebook, and the question is, would you stay the night in there? Yeah, I would.
Oh,
And
I
that's
do
what
that.
that's what's probably going to get me one of these days if I don't die of something else first, is the
Well,
fact that I don't have a fear of going into a place. I don't, you know. Now, do I say protection prayers? You bet your life. But I don't go in there holding no fear.
and that's the key. It's what you go in with, your mindset. You can either deal with it or you can be afraid of it. And
Yeah, and if you're afraid of it, you become a weak link. If there is something
oh,
nasty, it's going to go after the weak link.
for sure.
And that's why you can't go into a place, uh, with fear in your heart, man. If you do, and there is something evil or demonic or what have you, you're the first thing they're going to go for.
See, I go into those situations totally logical, and there's an explanation for this, an explanation for that, and I'll try to find the explanation. Now, there isn't always an explanation there, but that's the attitude I go in with. So things don't bother me in that way, as far as the fear part.
And this person, there's two ways of looking at it. This person seemed to be the only one. Oh, and of course, and her dog. Um,
The dog is really interesting in this
yeah,
story.
but it seemed like they were the only ones that were seeing or dealing with this thing. Now, the dog acting weird gives it a little bit of uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Validation.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
because the dog was
Well,
acting weird too.
dogs go by instinct. They don't have all the other outside things that we have to bother us or not bother us. The dogs just go by instinct, and if there's something that they're seeing and feeling, they go for it.
And that's what I say gives it a little validation there.
Yes.
Was it a psychological thing? I doubt it because the dog was also sensing something in the area. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this
Yeah,
person
and
probably
that's
was
what validates my story too. The dog went nuts. Uh,
exactly that.
and things were physically moved from the front yard to the backyard. It's like, okay,
So she
this
probably
is
really was dealing with an entity of some sort um, that either was smart enough not to ever show itself, or it figured. It reminds me of the other story that I did a while back called "There's Something on the Stairs," where there was an invisible entity that was speaking to this kid. Okay, you can terrify somebody more by talking to them and them not being able to see what you are than if you actually appeared to them. You know what I'm saying? Now, unless if it was a demonic evil spirit, it looked all really like that may be a little bit more terrifying. But what I'm saying is, if it was just an angry spirit in the house or something, you know, going after this girl because
it
it could.
wouldn't necessarily be an angry spirit. I mean, the spirit that was at the house in North Carolina was not aggressive or angry at all. Very passive. And my stepdaughter Debbie told me, don't worry about him. He's not going to hurt
Right. I'm
you.
talking about one
But
that.
he's here.
Yeah, I'm talking about one that comes into your dreams and gives you nightmares. Okay.
Well, if you don't understand it, then even the nice one can give you nightmares. Because I mean,
Well, I,
weird
I
things.
I suppose that's true, but I've never been afraid of a friendly ghost. Casper doesn't bother me at all. Just saying. We're gonna do a little break here, and I don't usually do this, but this is Ghostly Stories, and we are brought to you by Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio here on YouTube Live, Wednesday nights at 6 and Friday nights now at 6. Uh, and I have a good friend who is on here, but being very quiet. So I want to give kudos out to WCJB Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. Lots of great people over there. If you guys don't listen to that network, you need to go and check it out. That is some of the best paranormal shows you will find anywhere. Okay, having said all that, we'll get back to the nightmares at hand here.
Are you still with us, CJ?
It's on the quiet side over there.
CJ, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay.
Any,
I'd like to hear from you. I tend to talk too much sometimes. I want to give you room to talk too. So please join in.
Oh,
okay.
Hmm. Roger,
Yes.
I have a different point of view from both of you.
Okay.
I listened to everything you both said, and you've been discussing this straight along. What makes you think this is not some kind of alien type of deal versus a ghostly paranormal kind of thing?
That is a great question. That brings a whole new outlook to everything. What if this person was actually being abducted?
Wow, that's a different twist.
And they're dreaming the nightmares and everything. Maybe that comes from that. It's an entire possibility. Um, while they're asleep, and they wake up always staring into a certain spot. Maybe that's where um, the alien person could have appeared, and I guess put them into a dream state and took them aboard their spacecraft. As in, you hear of crazy abduction stuff. Uh, dang, that thought never entered my mind either.
Yeah, that's a total different twist. Um,
Well, I
not,
mean,
not 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 sure where to go with that one.
if you believe in aliens, and I do, you know,
what do you think, CJ?
Well, that's why I was asking you, is because everything you said throughout the whole thing, everything Roger said when he was reading it, could point to either scenario. It could have been a haunting, a spirit, or whatever, but it also could have been an abduction. I mean, an abduction attempt, at least.
right, or many attempts.
Right, and it happens that way.
And the dog wanting to get out into the backyard, uh,
Right.
searching for something that it could not see. Um,
Yes,
the technology that they would have, they could cloak themselves, I'm sure.
exactly.
So basically, they would be like a invisible entity, not necessarily a spirit entity. That gives a whole new outlook to
It
things.
sure does.
Well, how do you guys, as paranormal investigators, separate that when you're on a case? Do you consider both options when you're out there, or do you just go with, well, this is a spirit?
I don't consider both options unless there has been talk of UFOs being seen in the area, or strange lights and stuff like that.
Well, what about dogs going out in the backyard wanting to get at something? I mean, that's kind of a clue, isn't it? I mean, sorta.
Well,
Squirrel,
it can
squirrel.
be. It can
Oh,
be. But also, spirits are not only inside, they're also outside. So you couldn't really say that just because the dog wanted to go outside after something it couldn't see makes it an alien. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. My question would be, did anybody ask her if, this person
Well,
at the
I don't
head?
know. I mean, she posted the story and everything, and um, all I saw as far as comments is great story and just stuff like that. Nobody ever mentioned the fact that it could be anything extraterrestrial.
Yeah, I'd love to ask her. Whether there was any missing time for her, or
Yeah, now see, that's the thing. During the dream states, was
is
there
that
like a missing time thing? And of course,
right?
they are actually, I think, able at this point to fix it to where you don't remember any missing time. So,
Or that you're having a dream?
yeah, make it look like, and I wonder if if that's not what happens in a lot of your abduction cases, is they brainwash you to where it's like, oh, I was just dreaming this, and but what do they have you dream? Because they don't want to have you dream that you was abducted by an alien. So they would have to implant some other kind of dream in your head. And it could be that they, uh, implant an entity of a spiritual nature or spirit nature, that would cover up anything else. And although you would be frightened, you wouldn't be frightened because you knew that you were abducted by aliens. You see what I'm saying? You would just think, well, there's a spirit entity attacking me in my sleep.
Right. And another thing that bothered me was, does an entity always stay on one floor of a
No,
home?
No.
no, no, they do not. Now
They,
you
they,
may see them
they can move
for,
everywhere.
you
Then
may
why
see them.
why would that dog run upstairs?
Uh, because it ran into something down there that scared the dog crap out of it.
Yeah, going somewhere safe.
Yeah, like back up to the room where it used to being comfortable. Um, or it may have went after something that went up the stairs.
Oh, that could be
That's a
too.
possibility. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and dogs and cats and animals are more sensitive to things than people are. So, possibly this dog seen this thing run up the stairs and it went after it.
Yeah. Actually, when you say that,
Or it could have been running from it. Either way.
animals' eyes, for example, see frequencies of light that
Oh,
human
yeah.
eyes do not. The same with their ears. They're in different frequency ranges than humans, so they are more sensitive to that type of thing. Um, and that's a proven fact. And I always try to go for the facts first, of what's proven, this and that, and then if I can't explain it with that, then okay, maybe we got something here. Uh,
Well, I mean, as an investigator, you go in like Taps did originally. And I say that with sadness in my heart because I used to love that show back when it first came out. Uh, you go in with the idea that you want to disprove a haunting. So you debunk and you try to recreate every possible thing that people claim is going on. And if you cannot recreate or debunk something, there's your evidence. Okay.
right.
Uh, most of your, I won't say most, but a lot of your people in the paranormal field nowadays, they're searching for the fame. So they will take anything and say, yeah, it's paranormal so that they can say they got something. And that's not the case. And a lot of times, and my favorite one is orbs. Uh, I have to go there. Uh,
I'd like to hear that one.
I saw a picture of a group of people at a cemetery, and this is online. You can actually find it. And the cemetery is called Workman Cemetery, and I know where it is. I've been there a few times. It's reported to be haunted by a little slave girl. But anyway, in the picture you see, and this is in the wintertime and there's frost, okay? And you see all these supposed orbs everywhere. And this is at about the time when uh, dew would be falling, right? And you got a frost on the ground, and you can look at these things and you can tell that they are basically like ice bubbles or droplets or whatever you want to call them. And the guy's saying, yes, they really are orbs, and you can see them moving.
Oh yeah, yeah. You get a little water droplet on your lens of a camera, and
Yeah,
it looks like an orb. It's like
exactly.
it's all over the place. But,
So yeah, you have to go into that whole thing about debunking stuff, and you have to be your worst critic. Okay, you have to be your own worst
Yeah.
critic. And then if you cannot come up with an answer, and this is what I do with stuff. I will post stuff. If I can't come up with an answer, I will post it and I will say, if you can debunk this, by all means, let me know and I'll throw it out. But I can't find an answer for it. And I posted a picture, and CJ knows which picture I'm talking about, the lady in red that I showed you.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and nobody has debunked that picture yet. And it was taken at a little no-name cemetery out in the middle of nowhere, all grown up. But it wasn't in the cemetery. It was actually behind the wire fence on the other side of the cemetery. There's a little field there, and then there's woods on the other side. And she's there, and it looks like she's wearing a ball gown, a red ball gown. And her head's kind of tilted like this, and it's like her arm is holding up the skirt of this gown, the bottom part. And in the original picture, which I brightened this picture up a little bit, hoping to get a better view of it. And actually, I don't know where the original picture even went. I don't have it anymore. I can't find it. But in the original picture, you could actually see a gentleman on the left. And he was more transparent, but you could see his hat, his uh, tuxedo, and it looked like his arm was behind her, like he was, dancing with her.
Hmm.
And I wish I could get the original picture back because you
I'd
can
like
really
to
see
see
that.
that because
You can see him in the original one.
there are double exposure things that happen a lot
Well, and that was the only
with
person.
old film.
The only person who tried to debunk this picture said that it was um, um, like where you have a camera flare or um, movement that would make it. And they said that it was a something red that got caught on a tree.
See,
Anyway,
that's the thing that is so cool now is we have digital
camera blur.
cameras.
That's what it was.
We have digital cameras, and they don't do the double exposure thing that used to be done with film. If you didn't roll it forward and you took another shot, it could be on the same frame
Well, CJ
of
and
this
I both
person
have looked at
and
this
this
picture
person.
along with many other people. And if I show you this picture, if it was camera blur, everything in that picture would be blurred. Okay, you got a barbed wire fence that is in perfect, uh, you can see it perfect. You got a little tree growing up there that's perfect. Everything around and behind this picture is perfect. There's only a little pixelation in the actual picture because I tried to make it a little bigger. So nothing is blurred in this picture. Nothing, except for the pixelation in the picture where I made it bigger. So it's not a camera blur.
But double exposure can be crisp on both exposures.
Right, but this was taken with a digital camera. It was not
Oh,
a
okay. If it was a
film.
digital
Right.
camera, then that's a different story. Yep.
Yeah. So nobody has yet debunked that picture, and
That would be interesting to see. I'd like to check that one out.
what was funny about that picture is that um, we were talking and we were looking as we took pictures, and my friend took this picture, and we were both looking out there, and there was nothing out there. It showed up on the picture.
Hmm.
So, we know what it is, and we know that it's not a camera blur and it's not any of this. But I mean, I still offered if anybody can come up with a believable thing that this is besides what we know it is, by all means, tell me.
But with a digital camera, I mean that takes in different frequencies of light than our eyes can perceive too. So, because the digital camera takes what's there, and our eyes process things a different way, and our brains process that. So I can see where yeah, maybe you couldn't see this other entity there, but the camera did. That's
Well,
pretty cool.
see, that's another weird thing about it is when you take those pictures, before your camera resets for the next picture, you can see it in your screen. You can see the picture actually for a couple of seconds. It was not in there. It didn't turn up till he went through those pictures when he got home.
That's pretty wild.
So yeah, I mean, it put itself in there after the fact. That was really weird.
Really interesting.
And I also had another picture that I took. In this little cemetery, it had the big tall type of tombstones that came up like to a point. So they were like square, but they would come up smaller and smaller until they reached, like a point. So they were tall. And there were 3 of them that's knocked over. So you're seeing across there, you're seeing the bases of all 3 where these tombstones were. And I looked across there, shining with my flashlight across there, and you don't see anything. I took a picture, and it looks like a dog laying on top of the middle base from this tombstone.
Wow.
And it looks like a black and white dog. It was
different.
not there when I looked. I'm telling you, I looked across there. There was nothing out there. I took that picture, and it showed up. And that was the same night. So we had both of those pictures that showed up. One on my camera, one on his.
That's pretty cool.
And I asked, I put I took it up in paint, and I circled the dog. And I posted that picture, and I said, "What the hell is that?" And people were saying it's an entity forming, and it's this and it's that. It looked like a black and white, kind of like a sheepdog. What they call them,
I'd like
border
to
collies.
do an investigation with you sometime.
That was interesting. And this little old cemetery, it's about probably 12 foot wide, maybe by the length of the whole thing is maybe 50 yards maybe. And it had an old wrought iron fence around it, and the actual gate is still there, and the gate still swings. And this cemetery, all the dates on it register back in the 1800s.
Where was that?
It's I wouldn't know how to tell you. It's out toward a town called Dukedom, which is right on the Tennessee-Kentucky line.
Okay.
And Workman Cemetery, which is the one I told you about where the orb thing was, is about 4 miles past that one. We found that one by accident going to Workman Cemetery one night.
There are a lot of Civil War grave sites, cemeteries, and stuff in that area, and I've heard a lot about them. I've been to Gettysburg and investigated that a little bit, and there's some pretty real things in those places.
Gettysburg is on my bucket list, along with Chickamauga also.
I'd love to go back to Gettysburg. We'll have to go to Gettysburg together and investigate.
That'd be cool. Chickamauga is up in East Tennessee. It's not really that terrible far from me. So I should be ashamed of myself having not been there yet.
I used to get down to Vicksburg a lot. And
I've been to Shiloh.
And there's big Civil War battleground there. and cemeteries and stuff, and that's pretty interesting. I'd like to go back there again
Oh,
too. Now that I have more of an open mind, I was there when I was at both Gettysburg and Vicksburg, where when I was traveling with bands, so I didn't really have a whole lot of time to really explore and check things out the way I wanted to. But
right.
I'd love to be able to go back to those places now, with more of an open mind and time to do things and check things, really check things out, because there's just so much there,
Oh yeah.
I mean, all the things I read about Gettysburg, for example, with all the hauntings, all the sightings and stuff there,
For
would be
CJ,
really.
real quick, that house that I told you about, Dr. Martin's house, is down the road from me here.
Yeah.
The one that I showed you the picture of from Dresden that I posted the picture of,
Okay. Yeah.
this house is almost a dead ringer for that one.
Ah.
Almost. There's subtle differences, but it's got the tower that comes up, the cone, uh,
Okay.
a thing on one side of it, and it's like a big 2-story job, maybe 3-story. I'm not. I think it is 3-story. But anyway, I'm gonna get a picture of that for you too. Tried to get one last night. My daughter tried to take one with her phone, but I guess we weren't close enough from the road in the dark for the flash to actually bring it in.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna try to get by there during the daylight tomorrow and get a picture of that so I can show it to you. It's awesome too.
Yeah, I like that house.
And that one, I would assume when it was built, and my daughter and me both talked about this last night. The one in Dresden that I showed you the picture of, and that one there, both, when they were built, there was probably dirt roads there, instead of pavement like you have now.
Well, that was what I was glad we did all that research into that property and the owners and the name of the town and
Right.
everything. It was cool.
Also, Martin originally had brick roads. They were laid brick by brick by brick, like house bricks.
Really? Were they made locally, these bricks, or were they
I'm
transported?
assuming that they probably were, or either that they were shipped in by rail, because the rail, that's where the plague came from, was the train. But when they were paving the roads, they took it all the way down to the brick, and you could see the actual brick roadway that used to be there. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Yes, it is.
And also when they were refacing one of the storefronts, and I remember driving through there and looking and thinking, "Wow, that is so neat." They had went like 3 layers of brick back on the face of this one building, and there was still the original uh, logo on the face of the wall that said Pop's Arcade on it. So
Wow.
whenever that was there, I don't know, but that was just cool as hell. I saw that. I'm like, man, where's a camera when you need one? But yeah, that was really neat. And they got one now where they redone it, and they put a balcony up on the top with iron railing and everything, and it looks like something from out of St. Louis or New Orleans, and it looks really cool.
Wow.
Of course, it looks modernized, but it looks like something you would see in New Orleans.
That's a fun town. Have you ever been there?
No, actually, I'm gonna try to go. Some other friends of mine were wanting to get together and go down there. I think in May. Uh,
That would be a great place to do investigation. I was
yes,
there for the first time 2 years ago and
I
spent
want
about
to
a week
go.
and a half there.
Cemetery number one, of course, and I want to see the grave of Marie Labeau, and among other things. But
Another interesting place is Boston. There's some very old original cemeteries there that are really really cool.
oh, and
And
I definitely want to go. It's on my list too. The one in Chicago. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
I'm
Bachelor's
not sure.
Grove. Bachelor's Grove.
Oh, okay.
That's another one that's on my bucket
I'm not
list.
real familiar with it. I have heard of it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Well, what about Archer Road?
That one too. Yeah, that's another very interesting one. And there was something I seen, and I meant to tell you, CJ. It's actually oh the ghost story that I posted yesterday about the Screaming Tunnel.
I saw
Actually,
that.
actually is in Niagara area.
On my side of the border or the Canadian side?
I don't know which side. It just says it's up near Niagara or up in or near Niagara.
I gotta
So
research
I
that.
thought that would interest you. That was pretty cool.
Here's an invitation to you, Roger. My hometown right here at Grand Haven, Michigan. There's an old cemetery here called Lake Forest Cemetery, and the original founders of the town here have their own part of the cemetery, and there are many stories of sightings there. So
Oh, that'd be cool.
I'll get you some information on that, but that would be a cool thing for you to come up here and visit me, and we can check that out.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. That one that we found in Dresden that was hidden from the road. The original owners. He is buried there. His wife is buried there. And there's a Civil War soldier buried there, and they're all three right together. I don't know if that was the son or whatever, but they have like marble covers over the grave, like marble slabs that sit on top of the grave.
Hmm.
And the Civil War soldiers marble cover has a rebel flag carved into it. It has his name, and I can't remember off the top of my head his unit that he was in, and all that is carved into this thing. It's really awesome. And there's like this statue thing that sits out there in the middle. And then there's another part of the cemetery where they allowed other people to bury their family members on that cemetery property, and it's separated. The original one is surrounded by a block wall, and then the other part is surrounded by a chain link fence. And we're going to actually go there, and we're going to set up our DVR and set up cameras there um, when it warms up some to where you can be out there and do that. We're going to set the generator up on the back of the truck. We're going to run our DVR system and set cameras up over this whole cemetery and give it a proper investigation. That'll probably be spring or summer. I'm not sure when yet.
That would be interesting to join you on that. My side of that whole thing is, I mean, you do the video stuff. I'm a sound technician. That's what I've done all my life.
Well, you
So
could bring one of those audio sticks, with the
bring in
microphone
some
on it.
microphones, yeah,
Yeah,
and and really, you know,
that'd
catch
be
that
cool.
side of it. So maybe we can
Anyway,
team up.
our time is up, folks. I want to thank CJ for coming in and talking with us. Margaret Criglow over here in the chat room, and apparently she's the only one that found the uh, link that I put up. But anyway, for her and for everybody out there listening in that was not in the chat room, and a lot of people do that, we appreciate you very much. Couldn't have a show without you guys, and we will be here Monday night with one of my good friends, Mr. Frank Lee. He's a paranormal investigator from Alabama. He also does a show on the WCJV network called Paranormalities and Ponderings, and y'all should go check that out. He's awesome. He will be with me Monday night, and then, of course, Wednesday night, hopefully, William will be back with me and we will have another ghostly story for you. Lots more good conversation. And as I used to say, if you can't be normal, be paranormal. Come back and join us next week, you guys. Lots of love, y'all. Bye bye now.
See